The process of digestion is accomplished by mechanical and chemical processes. Basically the process of digestion involves both mechanical process, which include breaking down of food, that is, by breaking down I mean breaking them into smaller pieces, and chemical processes I mean by the action of salivary amylase, pancreatic juices and gastric juices. The buccal cavity has two major functions, that is breaking down of food into smaller part, that is mastication of food, and facilitation of swallowing. It helps in passing down the food through the alimentary canal or to the next part of the alimentary canal. The teeth and the tongue helps in mixing and masticating the food. So they first of all break the food into smaller parts and then mix the food thoroughly, and this is accomplished with the help of teeth and tongue. Saliva contains mucus, which helps in lubricating and adhering the masticated food. So for example, this is your food. It will be broken down into smaller parts with the help of teeth and tongue. They will be mixed together with the mucus, and then they will be formed in the form of a ball kind of structure, and this structure is known as bolus. So these small particles are adhered to each other with the help of mucus, and they are lubricated so that they can easily pass through the alimentary canal, and this structure is known as bolus. Bolus is then conveyed into the pharynx and into the esophagus by swallowing, and this process of swallowing is also known as deglutition. The bolus is then from buccal cavity pushed into the pharynx, and from pharynx it is passed on to the esophagus by the process of swallowing. The swallowing is swallowing is also known as deglutition. The bolus further passes down through the esophagus by successive waves of muscular contraction called peristalsis. The esophagus is made up of muscles, and the muscles contract and relax and forms a kind of wave, and this waves facilitates in the passing of food through the esophagus. It helps in pushing down the food down, and this action of contraction and relaxation is known as peristalsis. The gastroesophageal sphincter, which controls the entry of food between esophagus and stomach. It is present, for example, this is the stomach, this is the esophagus. Here the gastroesophageal sphincter will be present, and it controls the passage or the passage of food into the stomach. The saliva secreted into the oral cavity contains electrolytes and enzymes. The name of the enzymes are salivary amylase and lysozyme. Salivary amylase is basically a kind of a carbohydrate splitting enzyme. The chemical process of digestion is initiated in the oral cavity by the hydrolytic action of carbohydrate splitting enzyme, the salivary amylase. The salivary amylase starts the process of digestion in the buccal cavity itself with the help of enzyme known as salivary amylase, which breaks carbohydrate into its simpler forms. In the case here, about 30% of starch is hydrolyzed by the enzyme into the disaccharide maltose. Starch is a form of a complex carbohydrate. Lysozyme present in saliva acts as an antibacterial agent that prevents infection.